So I want to start this video off by stating that true respect is earned. Seriously, if you're having to tell people to respect you, you don't understand how this game works.
You should show me some respect.
Now, true respect is forged over time when people see you are the person that you say you are and you live up to the ideals that both of you are aligned with. So in the case you find yourself in charge of a team you don't know very well, put in a position of leadership for the first time, and you want to start things off on the right foot, in today's video, we're going to talk about how you can command respect day one. As a kid, I loved history, I loved biographies, I loved learning from others. And one of my favorite quotes was, "It is better to remain silent at the risk of being thought a fool than to talk and remove all doubt of it." Now, growing up, I thought of myself as an introvert. And I love that quote because it just talked to something I could do very well. Walk into a room and not say anything and let other people make their decisions about you based off of visual cues and whatever you decide to show them, but not say. Now, of course, if you don't say anything, people are going to make a judgment based off of what they see. And we talk about this ad nauseum here on the channel about the importance of style, presentation, image, clothing, because this is the first thing that people see for the way your clothing fits you, the color of the clothing, what type of clothing you wear, and everyone has an idea of success. We have an idea of what a fireman looks like, right? And so if you see that fireman and he walks in and simply says, "Get out," now, are you going to question him? No, you defer authority. You assume this guy knows what he's talking about. Versus if a naked man ran in and said the same thing, we would all wonder like, hey, call the police. This guy is crazy. The only difference is simply the way he is dressed, not what he said. And this is so important if you want to be perceived as successful. Dress as a successful man. For most parts of the world, this is going to be a man in a suit or a man at least in a nice sports jacket, maybe wearing a tie, looking good, putting that outfit together. Now, that being said, you don't have to wear a tie. You don't have to wear a suit in many situations, but you need to understand what is the uniform? What is the look? How can I put together something that looks great for my community? Whether you work at a construction company, whether you are a music artist in Los Angeles, you want to think, how can I walk in and immediately the conversation, it's like, God, this guy is incredibly creative. Look at the way he presents himself. It may just be those yellow, glasses with, the accents, in your shirt, the way that you piece things together. It could be your fragrance. All of this right here, these are non-visuals, but assuming that you haven't said anything, notice how you're already controlling the frame of how you are being seen and how people are initially going to treat you. The next tip to command respect is say what you need to say. Get to the point. No small talk, especially when people can BS, they can smell, when you're trying to beat around the bush and not hit the main point. Talk and have that uncomfortable conversation. If there needs to be a little bit of confrontation here, if you need to call somebody out, you want to do it respectfully, preferably one-on-one, not in a group setting. But if you're going to praise, if you have something important that everyone needs to hear, get to the point. Don't lollygag, don't put it off, hit it straight on. Tied right with that, if you want to command respect, be the one asking questions. And you don't want to ask questions that are going to put people in super difficult situations initially. And again, try to avoid doing this in a group setting if you don't know people very well. But what you want to be doing here is leading the conversation and asking the questions, asking for a little bit more detail here. Show that you've actually read the reports, that you've gone through the day. This may be your first day on the job as their manager, but you have a very deep understanding because they can tell by the detail of the questions that you understand logistics, that you understand communications. I had a commanding officer that he was amazing at doing this, and he couldn't BS the guy. I've seen other people, logistics guys, the S4, he just realized, wow, holy cow, and he come to find out that commanding officer had served as an S4, so he understood everything that he should be asking and really was putting everybody on their toes. And sorry for the military lingo there, an S4 is a logistics officer. It's a whole department. In a Marine battalion, we've got the S1, S2, S3, S4, and S6. I have no idea why we don't have an S5, but a little bit of new knowledge there, right? The next tip to command respect is to keep the conversation on topic, especially when you're in a group. It can go all over the place. You want to show you're in charge by making sure the questions you're asking, that the direction you're wanting to take this conversation, you stay on that path. You know how it is. You got somebody that just all of a sudden is taking it in all these other directions with tangents. Now, in a group setting, again, you want to be careful calling anyone out, but you do want to say, hey, that's an interesting topic, but let's bring it back to this point right here. That right there shows that you clearly are taking the conversation, that clearly you are the man in charge. Now, this next tip to command respect, very important in a group conversation, and that is to make sure that nobody cuts you off. This is something guys do to other guys. They especially do to women. Yeah, just ask the ladies in your circles. Us guys, sometimes we get so excited we want to jump in and say things and we interrupt. And this can be a habit we don't even realize that we have. Here's the thing. If somebody cuts you off, it makes you look weak, like you're not the person in charge. So how to stop this? Well, the best thing that you can do is just to continue to talk. Ignore that they are speaking. You don't have to raise your voice. You just want to continue speaking and saying what needs to be said. And the other person will either defer or they will continue to talk and you have two conversations going on at the same time. If this continues to happen, I do think it's important that you take the person to the side, especially in a work environment, and you have this conversation, especially if that person works for you. Ask them to have a little bit more etiquette, to not interrupt, and to point out that they're doing this. Again, do this one-on-one, not in a group conversation. Another key to commanding respect without saying anything is to own your space. So sit back a little bit, own that chair. I'm not saying invade their space, but I am saying don't be afraid to fully use, to show yourself as being comfortable, as even being vulnerable, because it's very clear, hey, I am the person here in charge. A lot of times when people are feeling like, hey, I'm nervous here, they minimize themselves. And this right here sends the signal that you're almost, people pick this up. And again, you're not saying anything. So don't be afraid to own that space. Next up, hand signals. Throughout this video, I've been using them a lot more, and that's really important if you're an introvert, if you're really quiet, you want to use hand signals. I've been on a Zoom call, put your hand up like you've got something to say, not raise your hand like you are asking for permission, but you can put your hand up. This right here is signaling, hey, can everyone quiet down? I've got something to say. Now, I'm going to talk anyway, but when I do this, I'm saying, hey, I've got something to say, and you're shutting people up. Like they just see it. Again, it sounds bad, but it's a very powerful gesture. Now, what happens if the conversation gets heated? Literally, you got somebody in your face. Hopefully, it doesn't happen too often at work, but it can happen. It can happen in environments in which, there's a lot, you work in a construction company. You have just some people that are tired out. Here's the thing: is don't react. They're jumping in your face. They're yelling. They've taken it to a whole nother level. And you show that you are clearly in charge by not reacting to the way that they're acting. Just simply looking at them, engaging with them. Don't maintain so much eye contact because that can lead to a confrontation. You can look down if you want to de-escalate. You can look to the side if you want to just, maintain that they're a strength, a very strong feeling, but just simply, hey, I'm not going to engage in this. Basically, what you're showing is that they cannot command your attention. Your attention is where you choose to give it. This right here is a very strong body language and just communication signal that I am the person in charge here, and I will pay attention to your tantrum. Maybe, maybe not. I'm listening here, and I want to understand where you're coming from. All this being said, simply with your body language and with you not reacting and falling into their trap. Now, to avoid that escalation, one of the best things that you can do and still command respect is let other people know that you respect their position. You understand their position. Repeating back to them their position and why this could actually be perfectly valid. You actually understand where they're coming from. All of a sudden, that person feels understood and they respect and they're more open to listening to you and your point of view. You've got to get people together on a team, and especially if, again, you're the new leader, you are in charge of people you don't know well, there's not really that trust issue. But when you show that you've done your research, that you're coming in here and maybe you even ask them to expand and you're really listening, repeating back to them, again, you're expressing that I am open. And this, again, is going to create that conversation, create that open communication, which leads to trust and respect, even if you guys don't agree. And if you don't agree with somebody, that's fine. And to be really clear about that, you don't need to apologize for not seeing eye to eye with somebody. A lot of people, they fall into this trap where they just say, you know what, I'm sorry. Maybe they feel like, they were talking about a subject that hurt that person's feelings. They apologize when they shouldn't apologize. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't apologize for when you're wrong, but if you know you're not wrong, if you disagree with this person on this point of view and you feel that, hey, we just have a disagreement here, then you don't apologize for that. You very clearly communicate your point of view. You express that you understand their point of view. And right there, maybe that person, they're pig-headed and they're not going to respect you. But if there is a group conversation, the people that the logical people in the audience, not always everybody, they are going to see what's going on and they are going to respect you. Now, this next trick, to command respect, seems almost counterintuitive, and that is be honest and admit when you don't know something, when you have a weakness, when you have failed. Because here's the thing, is that people have, again, I've said it earlier, they have great BS detectors. And if you try to BS people with information that is incorrect, you could actually damage the relationship. They won't trust you. But when you're honest that, hey, I don't know that answer, I don't have an expertise in that area, that is a weakness for me. Yes, I had an issue at my last company. Maybe somebody pointed something out. They had heard about a rumor about how you led a project and it actually failed. Yes, that is the case, and nothing I can do about that. We learned a lot. The company went under. That being said, I'm bringing this to the table and that to the table. What can people can't use it against you then. You've already, disarmed the bomb. And that is something, again, a lot of young leaders try to come off as infallible, as somebody that can't make a mistake. They think that people are only going to follow a leader if they have all the answers. It's okay to not have the answers, but to be honest and for people to know that you're human, that again is going to inspire them to want to follow you. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? Well, how about how President Zelensky over in Ukraine is giving a masterclass on leadership? This is something that inspires me, and I think that there's a lot that other men can learn on simply how to lead from the front and a number of other characteristics I talk about that he's doing. But guys, it's a great video. Go check it out. I'll link to it right here.